Hang on. How we doing? Toontoshi here, and I'm here to explain to you guys why, very simple, Mooncat will be the #1 cat meme of this cycle. Very simple, the cat moons. You guys might remember a cat that popped before, known as Popcat. That's why you might understand and start maybe feeling something about this. You might feel some kind of weird connection, or maybe something like this has happened before. And it's because it has. You see, the cat moons, just like the cat pop. And if you remember, that last cat that popped went to $2 billion. Now, one thing I want to talk about though is what the meaning of a mascot is. Now, a mascot, if you think about it, what is it? When I think of a mascot, I think of, Chuck E. Cheese characters, or maybe even a character in like you'd see it like a football game, maybe like a big bear, like a Bobo, or maybe even like a frog, like a horned frog, like an Apu. With that being said, mascots come in all different shapes and sizes, and good mascots, whether you're a Stanford tree or if you're a Colorado buffalo, are usually tied to the success of one's platform. With that being said, you might remember Base, and you may remember Brett. Massive success, another $2 billion meme. Now, the thing is, whenever I think of the cat memes, there's never been a cat that's really been a mascot. With that being said, there's never really been a platform that's ever given a cat the ability to be a mascot until this year. You see, Moonshot, you might be seeing it all over your timeline, has been going crazy. And the reason being is because it onboarded a ton of people. I believe it did over $400 million in volume in a single day with the Trump token launch. Now, with that being said, it's very, very normie friendly. Very, very normally friendly. I see a ton of people being onboarded as of recent, and I not only have I seen them being onboarded, but it very, very, very reminds me of Coinbase. Now, you might wonder why. Well, I guess you might have heard Coinbase has some sort of stake in Moonshot, as well as Jupiter and Meow. Now, that's not even one of the things. I didn't want to jump into that, but we might as well since we're here. Meow likes cats. I mean, he named himself Meow. And if you've seen the platform Jupiter and the success it's starting to have right now, and it being able to even a little bit of revenue from Pump Fun and Bonk, you can see that if it can happen once, it can happen again. Uranus is having massive success right now, backed by Meow, and all it is just a little blue peach with looks like a little butt, So what would he do for a cat? It's not like he named himself Uranus, he named himself Meow. And with that being said, you can also take a look at his PFP, and it looks like a cute cat, and it looks like it might even be heading to the moon. Maybe not, I don't know. With that being said, I want to go into dogs and cats and the difference, and why last cycle the dogs have almost always been the Bitcoin, as to where cats have kind of been the Ethereum. Now, you think of the massive success of some of these dogs, and you have the Doges, the Shibas, the Saitamas, I don't even know how to pronounce that one. And then you think of cats, and you have Popcat. You have, cats in a dog's world. You have, Mog, or even Mew, right? So, Toshi, Hoisco, you have these memes that have never really been able to live up to the dog. Now, you see, last cycle, it was dog cycle, dog season. This cycle, it's very simple. It's cat season, it's cat cycle. There's a reason why Murad holds so many cats in his portfolio, not many dogs. Now, with that being said, there's a couple things I want to go over. And I want to explain why it's time to moon, and I want to explain why last cycle was a dog cycle. You see, Elon, obviously, being behind Doge, absolutely massive. Now, I'm not saying that Meow is Elon, but what Meow is starting to figure out is the trenches. And that's something that Elon, he's very good at trolling. It's funny. Troll. You know, if you study troll, you should study the Mooncat. Lots of similarities. With that being said, what I want to do is I'm going to go over the top cats again with you. Remember, you have Popcat, Mew, Toshi, Whisko, a few others. Mooncat. Mooncat. Where does it belong on that list? Are any of those mascots? Are any of them tied to a MOONSHOT platform? You see, if you think of all those cats, they have one thing in common though. Think. What is it? That's right. IP. They all have intellectual property. Showing that they're not fucking around, right? They're there to play some ball. Think about that. Why do they have IP? The power of animation. The power of creativity. The power of being able to storytell. That's what Mooncat has. Think. A mascot with IP. Not just anything. It's a mascot with IP. You see, if you think about it, Mooncat can actually be the pudgy penguins of memes. Oh, there was a Mooncat there. You see, the reason why Pudgy Penguins was able to do what it did was because of royalties. And if you know anything, or if you haven't researched, or you haven't seen what's going on right now, is MOONSHOT is actually, as well as other platforms, giving creator fees back to the people that create these coins. Now, that's the reason why Pudgy went to what it did. It had IP and it had royalties. With those two things, Luca Nets was able to go and license the Pudgy Penguins, get into stores like Walmart, Target, create revenue outside of just transactions, and keep the brand living during a bear cycle. That's how you become multi-cycle. That's something that Mooncat has the ability to do. See, you might right now start feeling a little bullish about the cat. The thing is this, is that 99% of coins go to zero. 99%. So if you've ever looked at Murad's thesis, there is an oversaturation of memes, and eventually they're all going to come and there's going to go and be 1%, and that will be the cream of the crop. Just like Gary Vaynerchuk had talked about with the NFT era. Very similar to the .com bubble. Now, the reason why memes survive outside of cabals and millions of dollars in backing is because of timing and because of just downright luck sometimes. You see, MOONSHOT was launched in the same day, the day that the MOONSHOT creator, when MOONSHOT Create came out, Mooncat was launched. You see, I actually remember when I first got into it. I didn't get into it through the backing of someone as, big as Rek Takashi or some of these other huge names that are backing this in crypto right now. I don't know if David's in it. But I know Blue loves the cat. So, but I know there's people talking about the cat. And that's not why I got into it. The reason why I got into it was because I was at the lake. I knew that the platform had just launched. And I saw a cat that was in the perfect shape of a moon. And I thought, wow, it's fate. And you can't fight fate. If you've ever seen the movie Law Abiding Citizen, you can't fight fate. So, with that being said, Mooncat right now is very, very organic. 4,500 holders, full of diamond hands, and right now, with creator fees and 69% going back to the community, very similar to the way Luca ran his Pudgy Penguins and giving back to the community, it's giving the ability for Mooncat to be multi-cycle. Multi-cycle memes, if you look at any of them that have actually lasted, especially NFTs, are multi-billion-dollar businesses. They're not memes. Memes are the new small business, and people are going to start waking up very, very soon, if they haven't already, which I believe they have. With that being said, Moonshot is appealing to the 93% of people that have not been onboarded yet, and the normies are going to want to moon the cat. That's not a guess. There's a saying. It's one of my favorite sayings. It's from the movie Waterboy. It says, "That ain't no guess. That's what it's going to be." And that's what it's going to be with Mooncat. You see, like I said, most NFTs died because they didn't bring money from outside revenue into the token, into the liquidity. They continually just went and dropped new NFTs, new NFTs, new NFTs. You see, Luca figured it out with IP. And like I said, if you go back to the top memes, cat memes in specific, all over $30 million that I mentioned, you'll notice one thing in particular, and it's IP. Now, you can go ahead and make your own, thesis on where you think the Mooncat should sit in the list of all those other cats that I mentioned. But all I have to say is this. There's a lot of things coming. If anybody's played Stakes or DraftKings or any of those, Roulette, you might have seen the Rocket game. Well, we have one coming out, very, very similar, for entertainment purposes only. You're going to enjoy it. But there's a lot more behind that game. And soon people will find out. And when they do, Mooncat will no longer be at $3 million. Satoshi out.